Now, getting fit and healthy is something that we are all guilty of putting on the long finger, but to get a little bit of inspiration when it comes to triathlons, here to help us out is Brian Crinney. Brian, thank you so much for coming in.
It's good to be in here.
And listen, tell me what exactly is involved in the triathlon.
A triathlon is a swim, a cycle and a run done in that order, and it's a continuous event in that once you start the swim, the clock keeps going until you cross the line at the end of the run.
So there is absolutely no chance that you can take a little bit of a breather and just take time out. No, it's just the whole way through.
You can, but unfortunately most events now are timed with an electronic chip. So actually, it'll show up if you took a break at a certain point.
Oh, no.
So there's no excuse for a cheeky break anymore.
Okay, and you know, how long are these races in general? Is there like a general length that they should be, or?
Yeah, the most common is what's called a sprint distance triathlon, which is a 750-meter swim, a 20k cycle, and a 5k run, and that's what most people will do as their first event. There's probably 50, 60 events around the country like that. The next step up is the Olympic distance, and they're the triathlons that you'll see on the television. So that's twice a sprint distance, 1500, 20k cycle, and then a 10k run. So in the Olympics, that's the sort of event they'll do. But probably the most iconic and what you call almost the mother of all triathlons is the Ironman, which is a 3.8k.
I've heard about that, yeah.
Well, just get your head around this. It's a 3.8k swim, 180k cycle, and then finish off with a marathon.
Oh dear God! Well, I would be on the side of the road now. I have to orient up. I would be gone. But I mean, is it easy to just get into? Is it easy to start? Because I mean, I imagine, like, do you have to be incredibly fit?
Fitness definitely helps, but it's not something you require a huge amount of fitness for. In comparison to, say, running, I'd say it's probably equivalent to a 10k. So most people will do a sprint distance triathlon in about an hour and a half, and the running and the cycling comes relatively natural to people. The one thing is swimming. If you haven't done much swimming before, it really is important to get a few swimming lessons to put you on the right, or make you comfortable in the water, and then give you a little bit of technique so that you'll be able to train properly.
Okay, well, I have to say I'm blown away that you don't need to be fit. Because, I mean, when you say it, it's like, oh God, it's like a lot that you would actually need to do. So you don't necessarily need to be the fittest person, you just need to be a little bit motivated to get yourself through it.
Yeah, that's key, motivation. And like one of the side effects of doing triathlons is you will get fit. But most people start out as a New Year's resolution, or their friend twists their arm into doing it, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it isn't something that requires a huge amount of fitness, but definitely at the top end, it is an elite sport.
Great, well, I'm glad to hear that. Now, tell me about, the equipment that you need at a beginner level.
Yeah, I've brought in some of the stuff today. Again, you could talk about this equipment for days on end, but just the first is the swimming wetsuit.
Yeah.
Ireland, as we all know, is not blessed with tropical waters. So the main function of the wetsuit is to keep you warm. But the other sort of sneaky advantage is it makes you go about 10% faster.
Ah, so excellent.
There's all those suits you see in the Olympics that give you 0.5% or whatever. This is 10 to 20%. Huge advantage. Next, onto the bike. This is a relatively entry-level bike, but this would be typical of what most people would be using for a triathlon. Mm-hmm. It's got a few gears to make it easy when you're going up the hills, going down the hills, that sort of stuff. A helmet, obviously, to keep you safe, and it's important that your safety is one of those concerns. But together with the wetsuit, helmet, bike, we're talking about maybe €800, and that's, again, buying it all new. If you get the bike to work scheme, a few €100 off that, and again, if you buy it second-hand or borrow it. So it's not a hugely expensive sport to get into.
Cool. Okay, well, that's great. That's good to know. And like, I mean, overall, what is the scene like in Ireland? I mean, is this something that's really caught on?
Yeah. At the last count on irishtriathlon.com, I think there was 160, 170 events. So there's events right the way through the country and right the way through the year.
So there really is something happening all the time.
Yeah, and of all different levels and also sort of distances. So at the moment, there's quite a few duathlons because it's a little bit cold to go swimming in the sea. So they're run, cycle, run. As soon as we get into May, the triathlons proper will start, and then towards the end of the year in August and September, a few of the half Ironman and Ironman races. They're the sort of all-day events that some people do as their challenge.
Okay, and what are the ones that stick out for you during the year?
Probably have to opt out of the events that I organise myself, but
you can mention them as well, we don't mind.
For me, it probably comes down to the sort of racer I am. I like lots of surf in the swim, and I like sort of hilly runs, plus I like sort of short events that you can you can really redline it. So Dunmore East and Mullaghmore are the ones that stand out for me. Plus, they're great seaside towns. It's a great place to go for a weekend. And that's probably what characterises the scene, is that people essentially do a race on a Saturday morning, but go away for the weekend. So it's a very social sort of sport.
Okay, and I think, combining getting fit and being active with a bit of fun and a weekend with friends. I mean, I think if you do it with people as well, you're more likely to get through it. Number one, if you're not exactly at the peak level, because you have friends egging you on, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I suppose the scene at over the weekend would be good fun anyway.
Yeah, and most people getting into the sport are in their 30s.
Really?
Yeah, it's not, I suppose, like Gaelic football or rugby or soccer, where it's very much a teenage sport. Yeah, it's the average age people getting in is 30, 31. So most people are in their 30s. They're out for a bit of fun. This is their hobby at the weekend. It's not for 90%, 95%. It's not an elite, intense sport.
Okay, and for the small percentage of athletes, I imagine, that are doing this professionally, how do we fare on the world platform?
I'd say at the moment we're about average. In Beijing, Emma Davis was the first person to represent Ireland in the Olympics. Going into London in 2012, I think we've probably got the chance of 2 girls and maybe 1 guy, which if we could get 2 or 3, then that would be great.
Super.
Yeah.
And what advice then would you give to somebody who's kind of sitting at home on the couch, we're all guilty of it, and is kind of saying, well, I should join the gym, or I should, get a class. Is this something that, you would encourage people now to really just get involved in?
Well, what I'd say is put your money on the line. Go to irishtriathlon.com, find your local race, find your local sprint distance triathlon, sign up. And there's nothing like a goal or a deadline to get you out there and motivate you to do a little bit of training. So whether it's Kilkenny in July or Dublin City in August, you say, okay, I've got to do it now. I've signed up, I'm on the entry list, I'm going to have to turn up, so I have to do a little bit of training.
Great, well listen, that is a good plan, and thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about it.
Great.
Brian Crinian there, and do log on to the website to find out more information. It's irishtriathlon.com, and it's great to have a little bit of inspiration to get us all off the couch. Now, we're going to take a quick break. Still to come, Zoe Clark, makeup artist to the stars, will be joining me in part 2. Don't go away.